Okay, so I got my flatouts installed and adjusted. They have yet to be off-road tested. I did zip it around the block a little bit. Um, Definitely a firmer ride. I have the shock settings pretty much at 0 right now. A couple of little things to note. The back ones are a pain in the ass. Not putting them in, but getting the stalkers out. So there they are, sorta. Come on, zoom in. There you go. Whatever. Anyway, yeah. So when you put them in, there we go. So when you put them in, I had to cut my old springs because the bolt down at the bottom. Let me zoom this thing back a little bit. There we go. So the bolt down here, you really want to undo that if you can to drop the control arm further, because the suspension's kind of limited in where it comes down. But the problem with that is, of course, that bolt is most likely seized, as mine is. And I couldn't compress my stock shock. I don't have spring compressors. If you have those, it would help drastically. So what I ended up doing, because I'm tossing them, the old shocks are, well, old, I just cut the spring with a grinder. Not recommended. It's under a fair bit of pressure even when it's up on jack stands with the wheels off the ground. So side note. But when you put the rear coil in, what you want to do is you want to spin the lower collar all the way off, both of them, so that the spring can just fall, basically. Like, you both get the bottom in lined up, run a bolt through it, and then screw down your spring, drop it right off the shock, and then set your shock to the lowest setting, and then just press it down all the way, and then you can push it in, and then it'll come back up, and just pop it into the hole, and you're good to go. Front ones, they went in minty clean, no issues. A small issue for me, but that's not going to be everybody. It had to do with my snorkel setup. So my snorkel, the tube comes right in the car, comes right across here, and then takes a 90, and that's the air filter there. But it comes right across the top of my shock tower, so I actually had to put a spacer under it, lift it up, in order for it to clear the adjustment knob for the shocks. So I didn't anticipate that when I ordered these. So I don't think anyone else has a snorkel setup quite like mine, so it's nothing to really worry about. Ride height, so to equal 2 inches of ride height, I didn't have to adjust them very much. The bottoms of the front from fully flush, I only had to turn them until they were about a 1/4 inch down. I measured from the top of the shock mount to the middle of my upper mounting hole where the camber bolt goes through, and I ended up with stock with 2-inch spacers was 21 inches. So I set these the same, which only took about a 1/4 inch down, and then I used a locking ring, and then they're good. They went in fantastic. The only thing that I'll note is I guess I can't really show you on camera, but maybe I can. Yeah, so here I just put zip ties here for now, right there, because there's no bolt on the back of that. You need to get your own nut and bolts. I didn't have one that was suitable, so for now I just put a couple of quick ties on it. I'll bolt it back on later. This one here, the brake line bracket, that went in perfectly, no issues. So yeah, so there's your locking ring. So you just lock that. You turn this part down a 1/4 inch, and you lock that, and that was the equivalent of my shock length with 2-inch spacers. So even if you don't have spacers at all and you just put these in with that flush, you're going to gain, about 1 3/4 inches of lift in the front. Now the back, they're fixed. They used to be adjustable in the bottom, but they changed that. But the shocks are plenty long enough. Now what you're going to have to do, though, is after you put the shock in at the back, after you put it in here, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to run that spring up. But when you bring it up and put it all the way up, the shock is still not fully extended because the rear suspension won't drop far enough. Not with I have 2-inch spacers in the back, but this shock is designed for more than that potentially. So this shock, it didn't, when I ran the spring adjuster, the bottom collar back up, it didn't actually bring it all the way up. So then I had to get underneath there with the wrench and keep turning it until I got it up to where it was supposed to be. So right now my ride height is 820 millimeters to, sorry, 830 at the back to this, and 820 at the front. I want a little more rake in the rear because sometimes I load it up and I don't want it to sink on me. My shock settings in the front are zeroed out completely. These ones are 3 clicks from 0. I'll be taking it out onto Raglan, just a little off-road place we go. It's not much, but it's good for testing. It's bumpy and shit. So, yeah, I did my own camber adjustment, basically eyeball. So, well, not basically, it's eyeball. So, I think it's pretty straight. You know, it's not 100% ideal, I'm sure, but you know, the reason why I did not taking it to an alignment shop is because I need to replace my lower control arms, and you know, so I need an alignment for the shocks and I need an alignment for the lower control arms. I'll drive it for a few days like this. I took it for a quick rep around just my local streets here, and it's tracking straight, it's not pulling. So, you know, I think I got it pretty even. That's about it. So, you know, let me know what y'all think, and you know, I'll post up another video later after I take it for a boot. Bye now.